Johnny man ain't going back and forth. Never heard of. Hey. Look, man. Hold on. Got the cups up for the new year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we 2 weeks late. No, we 2 weeks on time. You know what I'm saying? We don't got to say too much. Got the cups up for the Dub Club. Welcome back, baby. If you're new here, welcome. Head ass. But if you're new here, man, I appreciate you for tapping in. And for those that's returning, we got another episode for you. And for this one, we breaking down matter, right? And why does matter to you? You about to find out. Humans, us, people, can only see less than 1% of what's possible in reality. The visible light spectrum. This is the part of everything that is that we are capable of experiencing. We have our sight, we have our touch, we have our taste, we have our smell. But a lot of reality doesn't matter if we can't experience it. And a lot of reality has to do with light being projected. Little do you know, this very same light that is being projected into this reality for us to be able to see has a mind of its own. But without getting too in depth about what that is, I wanted to make sure I brought some science to the channel so that for those people that wouldn't have been satisfied with just metaphysics or maybe philosophy, this could maybe rub a penny or two in your brain. And so this quote being, we can see less than 1% of all things available to us. We have to ask ourselves, what is real? How can we know something is real to us? The only way we know something is real is something exists is a fact that we can experience it. And so matter, this physical aspect of reality, is light transmuted into physical form that we can utilize to be able to have an alterable, sensitive experience. And so no matter where we go, what we're experiencing is all that is at all times, being light. There's multiple different words for this, but I'm gonna use light as the main description of what reality is in order for the next couple of points to connect together. Now look, when I said earlier that this light, this all that is, has a mind of its own, the way for you to recognize this is by the very nature of light, right? This thing travels at a finite speed, but reaches infinite distance. And I say this because no matter how far a sun is or any of the other stars are in the galaxy, in the universe, it can always reach us. But most of the light that we're experiencing, receiving, isn't even something that came from our sun in the first place. But we have our sun to provide us a visible spectrum for ourselves to be able to actually pick up and communicate with. But the number one experiment that exposed the fact that light has the mind of its own, man, it's a crazy one. And this experiment is called the double slit experiment. This experiment is undeniable, but without further reaching into the actual nature of the experiment and asking the right questions, you'll never get the answer that you're looking for. And remember, this all matters. Matter matters because this is the physical thing that you're altering with your mind. I'll get to the connection pretty soon, but back to the double slit experiment. I'm gonna pull up a video. I feel like it's a pretty dope explanation that's available on why the double slit experiment exists and it matters. But for those that don't really need to check out the video and you want to get it here, you know what I'm saying? That's why you pulled up. To break down the double slit experiment, light, the way it works is that something is going to project energy. You can use light as a substitution for the word energy, but again, that's for a different video, different topic, different day. We're using light today. Something is going to project light, and light has the option, remember, to travel. And this traveling will never stop unless it's interrupted. And so, in order to test how valid the atom structure of light is, we need to figure out why the light doesn't decide to stop traveling. And so in this experiment, what they wanted to make sure to test was the consistency of light. The fact that if it's going to travel, it's going to travel in one way. The nature of light, which they had previously thought before this experiment existed, was that there was only one way it could exist and travel, and that's through being a particle. This is a sub-essence of what light is. A particle is possibly the smallest factor of what anything is. But the strangest part about light is that even though you could stop it from traveling, it can still very much pass in any direction it wants to. It doesn't have to follow the rules of anything that's trying to stop it. But here's why the double experiment matters. Remember, light is the very foundation of all matter. All things are light. All things are made up of particles, subatomic particles. And so the smaller and smaller you get, no matter what, there is an essence there, which is light, that has the opportunity to turn into anything. All it does is has to condense. And that's the whole point of light stopping. You stop light to be able to condense it into whatever form it needs to be. And so this is with me not trying to add too much of a complicated explanation. This is how the nature of our reality works. Light is going to transmute and condense into a form, into a structure that we choose, or that, the ideas, back to the last video, chooses. And so in this experiment, because light will not stop traveling until you stop it, it will continue on its path until it stopped. What they used in order to figure out and solidify the nature of light was a double slit. So in order to figure out that light travels in its nature, travels no matter what in one way, being through particles, small little bits that are condensed together to create something. In order to figure out if that was true, they put up a wall and they put up two holes. In order to make sure that they had a control variable for this experiment, there had to be a wall with one hole. And so whenever someone shot light or a laser through this one hole, guess what you get on the other side? You get one straight line for the most part. Take it to the double slit experiment, right? Now we're gonna take this, everything that is, all things at once, and shoot it through two holes. The nature of reality is probabilistic. And this is what light, the very nature of our reality, shows. When this light has the opportunity to enter either the left hole or the right hole, guess what it does? It does both. But here's a caveat. Although they shot the laser through these, in this area to the wall, a weird thing happens. When they choose to observe the light, it goes through either or of the holes. It can even go through both holes. But the pattern is what's different. So when they choose to observe, where the observer effect comes in, when they choose to observe the results or the mechanism at which the light is going to travel through these holes, the light condenses into these particles that what they thought previously was the nature of light, right? But they take away the option of actually observing what the light does, and the light completely changes the way it actually decides to move through these two holes. So now where initially you have particles, little dots that will pass through these holes, it's insane, and this applies to you. The minute they stop observing the nature of light, it now passes through both holes, does not create two lines, but it now creates multiple lines behind the wall. What that means is that the light can change its nature based on one factor: observation. An electron, one of the very smallest particles of light, is what's passing through these holes. But for some reason, the electron never stays consistent based on if someone's watching or not. And so if they're not observing the actual experiment, this electron is like, oh my God, I could be here, I could be here, I could be there, I could be everywhere. And guess what it does? It goes everywhere. So it creates a completely different pattern than if they were to measure what the electron is doing. So when they measure it, again, back to what they thought reality was working like, the minute they decide to measure that electron, that particle, it decided to go through the holes like we would expect. It creates two lines. They stop observing it, multiple lines. It can be everywhere on that wall. Why does this matter to you? At the very smallest fraction of reality, an electron, it has its own nature of being able to decide on what to do. This is crazy because this means your entire reality is morphing based on whether or not you're paying attention. If you're going throughout your life not paying attention to what you want or what you don't want, reality is going to alter no matter what. Light is the very smallest essence and the makeup of all reality. So if light, the very smallest essence, can make a decision, that means all of reality is probabilistic. And when something is probabilistic, that means there is a way for it to segue into a preferred result. This matters to you because matter is alterable at the smallest level just by the way you decide to observe something. Your choice on what you believe and what you are willing to see out in this world will alter your very world and its very nature at all times. Your reality is based on observation. There are structures that already exist, like the previous video I talked about, ideas. These are entities that exist already within the mind. But once another mind comes into play to check out what something is doing, it has to change. And it will always change. And so scientists had to ask, why is it never consistent in the way we thought it was? Why is light doing its own thing? Light, its very nature, is conscious. All reality is awareness or consciousness. And so if you're going to alter your reality, you have to alter your consciousness. You have to match what you prefer. You have to choose to observe the experiment of reality, what light does, in a particular manner to then change the result that shows up behind it. If you expected light to come up as two lines, like the experiment, like they thought they did, it's gonna do that. But the minute you leave it up to be whatever it could possibly be, all things at once, which is what light is, you don't care about the way it condenses, it can always be whatever. Nature of reality is probabilistic. Your nature of reality is always available to whatever is deciding for it. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your mind. You have to change the way light condenses. You have to change matter by changing what matters to you. And the minute you understand that, you're telling your story and you're becoming your own hero. And that's what this series is about. And I didn't want to make this too long, but I appreciate y'all staying tuned. And we got plenty more on the way. Let's run this year up, man. I'm shooting for 100K. I already know it's possible. Remember, we're altering our reality by our mind. I know that it's possible. This light, all of reality can and will condense into what we expect. Change your expectations, you'll change your world. Change your story, you'll change your world. You change what matter does, and you'll change your world. It's been your boy Beat Up. I'm out, bruh.